Hello, dear listeners, and welcome to our very first episode of the Nerd Archivists, a podcast in which we, your hosts, play video games and then do deep dives into how we felt playing the games, the level design, gameplay, story, things like that. And maybe not just video games, maybe anime, maybe some movies. We'll see. I am one of your hosts, Brandon.
And I am one of your other hosts, Dakota.
And together, we are going to be talking about Dead Space, the remake.
So we're going to be breaking down chapter by chapter the game, the level design, the controls, the themes that go on, because it is a very deep game.
Yes. So essentially, what we're going to be doing is the first episode is going to be talking about the first 4 chapters. Each episode is going to be 4 chapters at a time. So this first season with Dead Space, we're going to be having 4 episodes. 3 episodes are going to be talking about the chapter breakdowns, and then the last episode, we'll be doing an overarching, like how he felt about the whole thing, the story, Isaac's journey,
Yeah, so that's the episode where no holds barred. We're going to be talking about everything from the beginning of the game on. So that's going to be the spoiler episode.
Also, I just want to say too, before we jump into this, if you want to play along with us, pause this, stop it, don't finish it. Go play through the first 4 chapters and then come back and listen to this. But without further ado, let's jump into this. Chapter 1, New Arrivals.
New Arrivals. And that's exactly how the game starts out. You are in the ship and you are on your way to help the Ishimura. The USG Ishimura.
Yes. It starts off with a video recording that your character Isaac is watching. It's his wife. She's talking about how she missed him, and he's excited to see her. They haven't seen each other for 6 months, and this service call allows him a chance to reconnect with her.
Yeah, just a routine repair mission on this big ship, and they're probably going to be able to spend days together.
Routine, in parentheses, routine mission. So yeah, right off the bat, you are introduced to some of your characters. You have Hammond and Daniels. There'll be 2 main characters that will be with you through the whole thing. You have another pilot. What was her name? Yeah, man, I forgot her name.
Taylor or something?
She doesn't live long enough.
Yeah, and that was an addition to the remake. That was actually not in the original.
Really?
Character. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that was something that was added in for more depth, for more, I guess, emotion and drama, just to make it a more human story. Because, obviously, in the remake, they brought the character, the actor who did the voice of Isaac in the other games, 2 and 3. They brought him back. They made Isaac look a little bit more like the voice actor, and then they actually gave him, he has speaking lines. So in the original Dead Space, if you don't remember, if you never played it, Isaac does not speak.
Yeah, he didn't get a voice until Dead Space 2, and they used the same voice actor for it. So I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, at least the game designers are loyal to their actors. But yeah, they changed a lot, and I think actually almost the entire voice staff, the voice actors, I think they were all different in the remake versus the original.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, put a pin on that and Google it and let me know if I'm wrong. But there's a lot of big changes in the staff for sure.
So one thing I neglected to bring up is in our relationship with this game, I never finished the original Dead Space. I played up to chapter 4 and never finished chapter 4. And I never finished the game. At the time, I was playing with a friend, and this was back in college, and we would trade off and play. The thing about it was I was a very careful player, but my friend, he was not so careful. And I would get really frustrated with him because sometimes he would panic shoot and he would use up all the ammo, and I would get really frustrated. And I'd be like, "Why did you do that? We can't. No." And finally, he was like, "Brandon, I can't play this game with you anymore. You stress me out." And fair. I can be a very stressful person to play video games with. So yeah, I never finished it. I never went back and finished it. I just lost time. I was an art student, so I didn't have enough time to go back and restart it. Um, so I never played it again until the remake came, and I played it the minute it dropped, and just obsessed over it for 2 weeks. Played it, finished it, played back through it again in New Game Plus.
Playing games with other people is very difficult. Like hard co-op games, and I used to do the same thing. Me and my friends, you die, and then you trade off the controller to someone else,
Mm.
and you just go through that system. And I don't know. As you get older, I don't know. I feel like in my experience with games, I definitely have leaned more into single player story based experiences like Dead Space.
Mm.
Not specifically just horror games. There's all kinds of stuff out there. Um, but yeah, that's co-op games are really tough.
Mm.
But I originally played. I did play the original Dead Space all the way through, and when it came out, I was in high school. I'm pretty sure someone just let me borrow the game, and it was scary. It was
Mm.
anxiety inducing, and I was like, I really don't want to do this again. And as soon as the remake became available on Xbox Games Pass, and it's free, so I downloaded it with the idea that I might pick it up again.
Mm.
And up until Brandon actually told me about wanting to do this podcast, I really had no intention of playing the game again. It is literally paying for a panic attack.
Yeah, what you'll see as we dive through this story is this game goes pretty hard almost immediately. The minute shit hits the fan, it just kind of goes at that pace, and it only increases. It never goes down to like a quiet point, but rather it returns to like the same level of stress that started it. That's like the even point with it.
There is not a moment, even the quiet moments of this game, that are safe. There's always the backing track. There's a little bit of noise and music. There's whispering, and it's the voices, and it really puts you into the perspective of someone who is living through this horrible nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And the game reminds you that you are in something that is so inconceivably horrifying that it breaks people's sanity down constantly, because the game will do that to you in your living room. In your living room, you have your Doritos, you got your Mountain Dew all laid out, you're playing games, it's 3 in the morning, and you don't want to be there anymore. It makes you want to leave.
Mm-hmm. And I can also just quickly attest, in my second playthrough of this game in my old apartment, which is creaky as hell, top floor, every time someone slams a door, you feel it. I'm playing this game with my headphones on, and someone downstairs slams the door as the ship is shaking, and it got a little too real, and I took my headphones off, and I was like, I can't do this. I have to stop for the night. This is a little too intense.
So let's go ahead and let's jump into chapter 1.
Yeah.
New arrivals. So you're coming in. You're coming in hot.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when things start to get rocky. And
Yeah. Turns out no one's in flight control to work the guidance system to guide your ship in. It is fucked up. And you have to use some weird engineering mumbo jumbo, engineering magic to guide your ship kind of safely into the docking port. It's it's a very rough landing, and the ship sustains lots of issues.
And there is no communication coming from the Ishimura.
So one thing I want to note too, coming into this, especially on the flight in, there's some stuff between there's some stuff between Hammond and Daniels. Daniels kind of sparks this like distrust in Hammond because Hammond was going through her files and she's like, I'm a computer engineer. Of course, I check all that stuff. And Hammond just reassures her, it's just CDC regulations. But when they get off the ship to go into the flight lounge, they have like, what are the assault rifles? They're called. I forget the name that they use for, but essentially like they have their assault rifles ready, and she's like, assault rifles for a repair job, and he's like, standard CDC procedure, and she's like, procedure for what? Dun dun dun.
Yeah, everybody's very suspect.
Yeah, Daniels does not trust Hammond, and there are several points through this game working up to the fourth chapter where she kind of calls Hammond out on some stuff. And at first, when I first played through it, I was like, that's a little weird. I'm like, she's doing something bad. But then on my second playthrough, now actually my third playthrough, this is my third playthrough now, I'm like, oh, yeah, there is some like shady shit going on that she was trying to bring out in a very like not obvious way.
Well, I always felt like on my playthroughs, she seemed to be the more likable of the two. The other guy, I mean, and it's because she starts casting doubt on him very early on. And of course, the story plays out, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, it's just you want to. I don't know. At least me personally, I always thought that she was the one to root for. Like, yeah, I thought she was always having the better intentions.
So you get to the flight lounge, you go to security to run diagnostics, and you notice some blood. Now, I think this is a thing you can easily skip over. If you just hurry to the thing, you won't say it. Because I feel like in my 3 playthroughs, I didn't pick up on this, I think, until the second or third time. But if you look at the blood stains as you're walking through the door, he'll remark, Hammond, is this blood? And Hammond will be like, quit fucking around. We got a job to do. And so you wave it off and you go check diagnostics. And that's when shit literally goes sideways. As we said, this game goes hard very quickly. Everything goes to shit. Necromorphs start dropping in from the ceiling. Chen, bless his heart, RIP, dies almost immediately. And you are cut off from everyone. And I think Daniels is able to get the door open on the inside, but essentially you just have to run. You are being chased by a necromorph. Necromorphs are jumping out of the vents. You have to run to this elevator to get to safety. It's very tense.
It's very claustrophobic.
Yeah.
And the game immediately drops enemies behind you.
Yeah, like if you stop for anything, you will die. That is how that works.
And that becomes the deciding factor in so many different situations of this game. Like, I constantly play this game just spinning in circles because there's always going to be something behind you.
You take the elevator down and you get your first weapon. I would probably say the best weapon in the whole, well, mostly best weapon. There's another laser gun that comes in later that's like probably my ultimate favorite boss killer, the contact beam. But that'll come in chapter 4. But so you pick up the plasma cutter and you are introduced to the mechanics in the game. You can't headshot anything, like that doesn't really work. You have to cut their limbs off. That's how you kill them. And even like later, Hammond will be like, does that even really kill them, or does it just stop them? And it's like that's what this game comes down to, is like you're just trying to stop them from killing you very quickly.
Yeah, it's all about just nullifying them. If you just stop the things that are trying to kill you, you can get to the next room, the next hallway, the next terrifying, dark, scary place. And that's one of the things is the game, and then level design also. How tight everything is when you start the
Mm-hmm.
game. All the corridors, you feel like there's barely any room to move around. You quickly learn that the necromorphs will jump out of any vent or
Mm-hmm.
ceiling panel, or they'll just pop up behind you because you can't trust a dead body in this game. There's a body, there is a 95% chance that it's going to come back to life and try to kill you.
Exactly. Um, yeah, sometimes you'll come across necromorphs laying on the ground and they will be fake dead and they're just waiting to trap you. Um, Funny story about that too. So there is a YouTuber I like to watch called Carcinogen SDA, and he does like these walkthroughs for survival horror games. Usually no damage walkthroughs, and they're just like 5 to 11 straight hours of just going straight through the game. And one of the things he talked about in this particular game is that a way that you can tell if a necromorph on the ground is dead or not is how it's laying. If it's dead, it's just going to be like its arms out flat. It's going to look literally lifeless. But he, in his own words, says that if the necromorph is faking it, he will have like a sexy pose where his butt will be kind of out a little bit and his knee in as he's laying. And sure enough, if you see a necromorph with his ass out, yeah, that necromorph is gonna pounce on you. So shoot it. You that is a tip. You're welcome.
Or stop it. I stop everything in that game, or punch it. I love
Mm-hmm.
punching things in that game. I feel like it's almost a broken mechanic on any level of difficulty. Um, and this is kind of a life hack, but punch everything.
Yeah. And also with the plasma cutter, what makes it so good is if you upgrade it fully, there is a special attack on it that makes the punch knock anything it touches to the ground. That's anything. Bosses, brutes, whatever. Like you will knock it to the ground, and you can literally stun lock enemies forever with that attack. Like it's stupid how powerful it is. And it's just with the plasma cutter too, just the plasma cutter.
So yeah, you get into this horrifying situation.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you have to get the tram back online to get your technically coworkers to safety.
Yeah.
There, you literally have no signs of life on this entire ship, which uh, one of the big themes of Dead Space obviously is cosmic horror,
Mm-hmm.
and that goes back to H.P. Lovecraft,
Mm-hmm.
which is heavily present.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Lots of cosmic horror in this
you
game.
have a lot of ties back to Event Horizon as well.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of keys in this game that feel very like 80s, 90s sci-fi horror in the theme of aliens and Event Horizon. Great movies. A lot of the sound music cues as you play through this game, starting when they drop, running up to tram control, like the music will intensify in a very classic way when the necromorphs like fall and start attacking you, and then quiet down to this uneasy orchestral piece.
Oh yeah, there's like a slow like scraping of a bow across the
Oh
strings.
yeah.
But I do like how when there are the big like triggered moment like scripted things that they do the Penderecki. Penderecki's a great composer. Um, he did a lot of things way back when. He does a very famous song about dropping a nuclear bomb. But it's if you know Insidious, the movie, it's that really high pitched, screechy, very
Mm-hmm.
fast tempoed kind of thing, and
Yeah.
that's one of those things that is very naturally anxiety inducing into people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not something that you want to hear. It's like nails on a chalkboard, and so they put you in this scary situation, and they just blast all your senses with
Mm-hmm.
terror. You know.
So yes. So you get to tram control, find out everyone's alive, and they need to get to the captain's nest, but there is a busted tram blocking the way. Also, they can't get a new tram out because this broken tram is fucking everything up. Also, you need a new data board. You need to fix the whole thing, which is a good thing you're an engineer. And turns out you can fix these things. So you have to go on this mission to go, you have to go fix the tram. You got to get the tram off. You got to put a new tram on. And on your way there, you get your first of 2 upgrades to your glove, the stasis module, which very OP. You can literally just stunlock things and stop them and just stomp the shit out of them and never use any of your bullets ever.
Yeah, it is. I mean, as far as survival horror goes, it would break a lot of games to be able to do that. And you need it for solving certain puzzles, getting through certain doors, and you do have a limit on your ammunition as far as like stasis is concerned. So you do have to keep track of it.
I do want to point out too that on your way to these 2 points to getting the data board and replacing the tram, there's a moment where the screen fizzles and you start hearing voices, and that's kind of the first key moment where I didn't really notice it on the first time. I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. I just figured that was like a horror game mechanic. But on my second playthrough, I kind of realized this is when you realize Isaac isn't really sound in his mind. Like, he's starting to hallucinate. There's some weird things happening on this ship that affect your psyche.
Yeah, they do. Again, with the design and then the whole tense atmosphere, there's a lot of times you hear beating and banging and walking, and it's not just the voices or the slow orchestral thing. You hear things around you,
Mm-hmm.
but there's nothing there. And
sometimes a random vent will just explode and nothing will pop out. It's just to make you tense and be scared.
Or sometimes you'll see something move behind a wall and it will never jump out at you.
I will say I really like how they incorporate the additions to your suit like stasis and kinesis. So you pick up stasis, and one thing you have to do is stop this moving door from, because it's busted, so it's slamming shut a lot, and if you try to go through it, you will die. It will just cut you in half. But if you use stasis, you can slow the door down and go through it. Much in the same way, you can't replace the tram because there's a busted claw, so you have to stasis the claw onto the busted tram so it'll hook, and it can replace it. And you'll use that later on in chapter 4 too, when you have to start the centrifuge, but we'll get to that.
We are going to move on to chapter 2. We're going to the med bay.
Yeah, so you do the things, you get the data board, you replace the tram control. Hammond is like, get back to the Kellyan, get it prepped and ready. I don't want to stay here any longer than we need to. Ship's a death trap. So you head back to the Kellyan, and hey, Kellyan explodes. Turns out when you get on there were necromorphs fucking around with the core, and they explode your ship. You barely have enough time to put your helmet on before it jettisons you out of the ship. Your only way off the ship is gone.
That comes into another thing. That other person that we were talking about, the pilot with the broken leg, was stuck on the ship and died.
So literally the only survivors are Hammond and Daniels.
Yep. And I just want to point out too, again, going back to Chen, the only name of these people that we can remember, because Dead Space has a thing for the red shirts.
Oh yeah.
And so that's one of the big themes of the game is there's everyone's a red shirt, but you quickly realize that you're playing a red shirt. Isaac is not supposed to live. I mean,
he's totally an expendable character that never dies.
He just doesn't die, and it's like the protagonist kind of curse. Mm. But yeah, he's really not supposed to live at all, ever.
So this sends you to chapter 2, because they're like, hey, we're gonna head to the captain's nest, and we need to find the captain. Maybe he might know an alternative way off. And so you do a tracking thing on his rig, and you find out he is in morgue, in which they're like, Jesus, even the captain, everyone's dead. Big surprise. Um, so you have to go to medical, and that's when you get your second module upgrade to your glove, the kinesis module, which is arguably one of the funnest aspects of this game because picking shit up and throwing it is really fun.
And as soon as you pick up your first rod and you pin a necromorph to a wall, it is so satisfying. And it's so satisfying because depending on what you're playing on, you immediately get an achievement for pinning something to a wall.
Yeah, so one thing I want to say that's really beautiful about this game, like the gore graphics, actually like as you dismember the necromorphs, you watch their skin and muscles and everything fly off. If you can cut their limb off and then catch it with your kinesis model before it hits the ground and shoot it back at the enemy and pin it to the wall, you will get an achievement for that. I don't know what the achievement's called because I am not quick enough to do that, but it's there. It's also very fun to do. In general, it's just fun to kinesis a limb off of a dead necromorph and then start shooting it at others. So fun. So satisfying.
I also want to point out in Medbay, if you take your time, if you're playing along with us or if you're just doing it on your own time, if you take the time, look at all the logs that you can, read everything, watch all the videos, because this is when you really start to get a lot of development of this bigger picture of what's going on the Ishimura and what's been
Mm-hmm.
going on. It's logs, and you'll see some things from Isaac's wife too that
Mm-hmm.
kind of lead into a lot of what's going on because she's a medical officer, and of course they're investigating why everyone's going batshit insane.
Yes. Um, in chapter two in the med bay, you also get your first kind of side quest start where you find a video capture of Nicole, and she kind of just sends you on this like thing as you find more of her things and you find what she was hiding, what she was doing. That progresses throughout the game. This game has wonderful side quests that really expand the story. I don't think these side quests were a part of the original game. They were added on. Because that's the thing that this game did is it kept the the beauty of the old game, but added on to it. If I'm not correct.
They definitely added on a lot.
Hmm.
They made it a richer experience, and they added on a lot more playtime as well. So I will say, especially if you could, if you have Games Pass, you can get it for free, or you can get it for really cheap, pretty much anywhere.
Hmm.
It's huge value
Hmm.
is in this for sure.
So you get to medbay and you have to do two things because the way to the morgue is blocked. So you need a hydrazine can and a defibrillator so you can use the electrical currents to explode the can. Um, this so I believe going through this, you also unlock another aspect of your suit that you'll find later on that's really fun. And that's the ability to fly. So, one thing this game does that it didn't do in the original one is give you the freedom of 360 movement as you're flying. That was a thing that Dead Space 2 did, but not Dead Space 1. But the creators, when they did this remake, decided to bring that aspect into the first game, and it's really fun. Like the first time you get to take off into zero gravity and just fly around free is it's dare I say enriching.
It's wonderful. Honestly, the zero gravity parts of the game are some of my favorite. Also, killing necromorphs in zero gravity is so satisfying, and I
Although
feel like I would rather be in a big empty room floating in space and see something way over there and kill that than have it just creeping up behind me.
You can also in Zero Grab explore lots of different aspects of the ship than you could if you were just walking around. So yeah, so you get that, and you get the hydrazine can, you get the defibrillator, you blow the thing open, and you make your way to the morgue. Now, you get introduced to a character that turns dead bodies into necromorphs. And when you first go through this level, you won't know this and will undoubtedly get attacked by a shit ton of dead things after this sequence. So you go into the morgue, you try to get the rig off, and this weird headless bat creature that's about the size of a fucking person jumps out of the vent, attaches itself to the captain, and turns him into a necromorph. And he then transforms on you. And you kinesis a explodey thing onto him to knock him away. Now, if you did not stomp all of the dead bodies outside, that thing will go and turn them all into necromorphs. And if you didn't prepare, which you most undoubtedly will not on your first playthrough, you will have to fight a horde of necromorphs. Now, if you did the smart thing like me, I stomped every goddamn body coming in there because I did not want to fight a shit ton of necromorphs.
Just stomp everything.
Yeah, and that is a thing after this point you will want to do is if you see a dead body, do not take chances, stomp it. Stomp it because I would rather deal with an angry bat creature than all the necromorphs it will inevitably make. Because also, they have iframes while they are creating these dead bodies. You cannot kill them. You have to wait till they're done. That is very obnoxious.
This is also a point that I want to point out. The graphics, because we are talking about the remake, the graphics in the remake are absolutely phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this isn't a game that came out like 2 years ago or anything, right? But the amount of detail that they put into the game compared to the original is fantastic, and it really stands out that this was a project that the people behind it were very passionate about. Like I said, they changed up the cast. They brought back the voice actor for Isaac. They made it look like him, but going again into the horror of like looking at these creatures in high detail. And I mean, they went all out on the detail. Like you could pretty much see the fingerprints on the necromorphs, but they put all the details in. You can see the rigs. You can see where their clothes from where they transformed are still kind of like stuck in their flesh. I mean, like, and then like moments like when you're being attacked by this dead body that's transforming while it's trying to kill you is just really grisly. I mean, if you watch it in slow motion, or you go back and look at screen grabs, or watch somebody do it on YouTube or something, and the detail is ridiculous.
Yeah, like I said before, the body horror in this game is beautiful. If you're a fan of body horror, this is the game to jump into. If you like existential horror and cosmic horror, this is the game for you. So you survive that instance, and you call up Hammond, or Hammond contacts you, and you're like, "Fuck, dude!" And he was like, "What happened?" And he was like, the captain just turned into a necromorph in front of," but they don't use the word necromorph, but yeah. And he's like, "I think this thing has been flying around, turning all the dead bodies into these monsters." And then he lets you know that he thinks Chen has been stalking him. This monster appeared, and he swears he looks just like Chen. Dun dun dun. So he tells you to head to the captain's nest because he's got things to tell you. However, he then cuts that and says, "Hold it. We have an issue. The engines have stopped. We are now in a dead drop to Aegis 7." Which, by the way, that is the planet that you are heading to because Ishimura was harvesting, cracking the planet Aegis 7.
Yeah, so they harvest the raw materials from these planets, The Ishimura is the first of its kind in the Planet
Mm-hmm.
Cracker class because this is again tying into the whole cosmic horror and the sci-fi horror. Is so the Ishimura was originally designed to literally break apart planets. So what they do is they pick an area, they scan it, they figure out what materials are in there, and then they literally take a big giant cartoon like huge
Mm-hmm.
chunk of the planet out, take it into orbit, break it down, get the materials they need, and then take it back.
Yeah.
Because humanity is incredibly advanced, and the Ishimura is also capable of faster than light travel
Mm-hmm.
because of the drive that it has, which is the name Ishimura is the guy that actually created this drive. So it's
Mm-hmm.
named in his honor. The ship itself is a mile long and two
It's
city blocks
huge.
high. And one of the things that I like about the design of the remake is the fact that so in the original you could only go section to section by tram,
Mm-hmm.
so of course that's why that's your first thing. You're constant, but that's again, Isaac is always fixing things, so that's what you
Mm-hmm.
do. You fix things. The tram is broken. Oh, we can't drive the ship because we don't have the codes. Oh no, the engine's dead, and you just keep fixing things over and over
Mm-hmm.
and over. But again, it's like you're just the middleman, like
Mm-hmm.
But again, it goes back to the whole red shirt conversation that we had.
And something that you experience starting in chapter 2 that will be prevalent in every chapter is you cannot readily take the tram to each chapter. You have to do this like weird backwards alternative route to the area and unlock the tram route from that point. Um, in the first one, you had to go through this back route to the medical bay, and then afterwards, you have to take this alternate, like, you have to go back through the flight lounge and take this weird place in zero grav down to engineering to restart the engines again because the engines have been shut off. You have to do this repeatedly through like 80% of the game to get there. You can't just like take the tram immediately there. So yeah, that is chapter 3. You have to go back to Flight Lounge, which it does. So flight, I think it's this time when you go back into the Flight Lounge for the third time, you experience a hologram that happens like the um you see Chen getting killed by a necromorph and it just kind of suddenly happens. If you're not ready for it, it is a jump scare for sure. So yeah, so you go to Flight Lounge. Around this time, you'll start to notice that this weird gunky tumor shit is starting to fill up on the ship. You don't really know what this stuff is, but it's really gross and it's growing bigger and bigger, and it's very apparent in engineering.
So yeah, it basically goes from being in this mechanical hallways. I get engineering, the fog that they use, like all the steam coming off of
Mm-hmm.
everything, is terrifying because it really cuts down on your visuals. Like you really can't, you can't tell what you're coming up against at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then you go from this very hard mechanical thing into almost walking through like an organ.
Mm-hmm.
It just has this feeling of being, obviously this is some kind of big biological mass that shouldn't be here, but it's done in a weird way. It's not done in like an HR Geiger way.
Yeah, yeah, no, not like in Aliens.
No, it's there's a hard line, and then all of a sudden everything is just nice and fleshy and
Yeah, it's really,
gross. It's got a sheen to it. You can tell that it's wet, and it just does not look nice.
it literally looks like a growth, like a tumor growing in this ship. So, so yeah, so you get to engineering and everything's fucked in engineering. The engines are shut down, the gas has been shut off, so you can't power anything, and the centrifuge has stopped spinning. You have to start all of these things. Um, oh, the path to get to engineering, you have to go back out to where the Kellyan was and Hammond will activate zero gravity, in which you can then fly to the area. So at this point, you can explore that whole area, including the downed Kellion. You can literally fly into the Kellion. You can see your dead captain, R.I.P. Pilot lady,
Pilot person.
pilot person.
Yeah.
You can see her. She is literally blown to bits. There's a lot of other little goodies you can get in there, but I thought it was really cool to be able to explore the Kellion and to see its kind of size and magnitude, like get a scale of how big it is. So yeah, so you get to engineering and you have to do all these things. It starts with getting the gas on. You can't start the centrifuge until you get the gas power going. So you got to go through that whole area. It gets so this is one of the things you'll repeat this several times through the game, but you'll have an option. You have to route power, and you can either turn the lights out or you can turn the air supply out. Either way, or life, you have to cut power to life support. And either way, you're going to get boned a little bit because you're either killing necromorphs in the dark or you're killing necromorphs while having to run back to the oxygen chamber to refill.
There were a lot of times that I really hated myself for picking air over lights, personally. I really don't suggest turning the lights off unless you want to basically triple the difficulty of whatever you're playing.
Yeah, unless you're a masochist.
Yeah.
Although, on this particular level, when I made it back to the main room, because you do everything through this main engineering hub that slowly opens the doors as you go, I made it back on just 3 seconds of air. Like I was chugging it back to the door. Also, for a slight second, while the air compresses, you still can't breathe. So if you're on a second of air, you will start dying until everything pressurizes appropriately. Just a little tidbit there.
I will also say this is one of the big. I feel like this whole section of the game. This is one of the big action areas.
Mm.
So instead of like every time you turn something on or flip a switch, open a door, you know that you're going to be fighting something.
Yes.
A lot of the game up until then is always kind of like 50-50, maybe there's going to be something, maybe not. But here you are fighting a lot, and the game lets you know. You get these big loot rooms with a bunch of ammo, a bunch of like parts, stuff to upgrade with. And so definitely, this is more of a combat heavy kind of situation, and you are doing the puzzle at the same time. But this is just great, great survival horror.
Oh yeah, it's so fucking tense. So you turn the gas back on. You go back to the engineering to go to the centrifuge to restart it. And guess what? One of those bat creatures appears again because there is a dead body sitting in the seat, a dead engineer. And if you did not stomp that body, it will turn that thing into a necromorph. So remember, once again, stomp every dead body that you see because there's a good chance it will get turned into a necromorph later and you will get boned.
Or give him the backhand. That works too.
So the centrifuge is one of my favorite areas because you go in and it's zero grav. It's this giant machine. And you have to, once again, use the stasis module. You have to bring the arms in. You have to use the kinetic module to move the arms. And then you have to connect them with the stasis to make it stay. And then once you get both arms connected, you have to fly back up to the top and turn the centrifuge on, which then restarts gravity. And you can't fly around, you're stuck on the thing and you have to work your way back down to the exit. But also there's no air. So you have to run all while this thing is spinning. The centrifuge is spinning and you have to time your runs in between each movement or it will just plow straight through you and you will die.
And you are not a fast person.
No, not in zero grav. You're pretty damn slow.
As always. Yeah, but I will say about the centrifuge location, very much like the landing area when you get to go through that in zero grav. It gives you a really good idea of how big this ship is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a big map, and no, it's not GTA 5, but it does a lot with what they have.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you have a lot of these like small confined corridors, and then all of a sudden you have moments like this when you're
Mm.
in this huge open area, and then you're doing this like Indiana Jones dodge the boulder kind of thing with the engine.
And one thing too to note in the centrifuge area, when you come in, you will see this giant. So the top railway has been busted by this giant mass of flesh. And if you fly up and look at the flesh, you realize that there are dead bodies in this flesh. You start to kind of get this understanding that this tumor might be made from corporeal beings. Because you're literally seeing engineers like half out, just being like, eh. They're just like dead, kind of sticking out of this mass.
So yeah, you get all this stuff working, and then you walk out, and you're like, cool, all the action's over. I just gotta go back.
No, there's the engine room.
Oh, yeah.
I hated the engine room at first. There's a key to the engine room. Save up all of your assault rifle ammo, and because its alternative fires grenades. Also, during this level, you get a fire. You get the flamethrower.
Yeah.
Yeah, which to me the only good use of the flamethrower in this game is to kill. So there's this big bloated necromorph that will explode, and little tiny bat things will come out of its like body and jump on you and slow you down, and you have to press X like a whole fucking lot to stomp them. But you can just flamethrow that shit and burn them all. That is the one use for the flamethrower. Until you get the force gun, that is the route. Always keep it on hand.
Yeah, I never use it for anything else.
It's either that or just get ready to grenade everything. But you go into the engine room, and this starts a thing that another mechanic where you're waiting for something to start up, and during this time, it is horde mode, and you're just getting bum rushed for a certain amount of time, and you have to survive. So yeah, you're getting attacked by all these different necromorphs. There's also another necromorph that gets not introduced here, but in the first chapter, and he's like this big strong arm necromorph that crawls with his hands, and he has like a tail, and he like jumps. He's a jumper, and so you have them. You have regular necromorphs just coming out after you. You have those little festering, like bloated ones that explode the little babies on you.
I will say about these types of enemies, I do love how Left 4 Dead kind of set this
Yeah.
like standard. You have like the hunters, like the jumper guy. Then you have the bloaters, which I mean I don't know how else to explain that. It's the same.
Yeah, they're
thing.
bloated necromorphs.
I mean, think about the Last of Us.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the same kind of like enemy archetypes in that too.
As I said before, I just saved up all of my assault rifle ammo, and I just blew everything to fucking Kingdom Come. Because that's the safest route to go. If you just try to shoot everything, they will kill you. I take no chances. I blow everything up. So you get the engine started, and you get a call from Hammond, and oh no, another issue has happened. We are now getting pelted by asteroids, and the ADS cannons don't work. This sends you to chapter 4, where you have to restart the ADS cannons by rerouting power from 3 different areas. And you have to go to the captain's nest to do this. So you finally get to like the atrium. You go up to the captain's nest and talk to Hammond. You find out that Chen has been captured in this pod, and they're like, R.I.P. Chen, and they just eject the pod.
Yep. Just out into space.
Yeah. Probably not the best idea, but we'll put a pin on that and come back around to that in the next episode, because we will definitely deal with those consequences later.
There's a lot of consequences. Oh yeah, there is. So there is that moment.
Oh yeah.
There is
So
a big moment in this game.
so you get your clearance upgraded, and he sends you to the security check station to go turn the elevator on so you can go do the power rerouting. But he says, "Be careful. There's something big in there, I heard." And as you're coming to the atrium lounge, an arm shoots out of the fucking thing, and almost, and if you, I think it kills you if it hits you. Like, it's just one of those jump scares that you don't want to test. But yeah, so you get close to the door and something explodes out of it, and it is a brute. It is a giant fucking gorilla necromorph. You have to stasis it, run around, and shoot these little points in its joints to kill it. It's a pain in the ass, and this is why I keep a cut. Like, once you get the contact gun, it is the boss killer. Just wipes the floor with these guys.
I will say the first time that I fought it, I didn't know what to do exactly.
Yeah, you're gonna waste all your
so
ammo.
I quickly put it into stasis, and then I basically just busted out the flamethrower and spent all of my flamethrower ammunition. Just like, I'll kill it with fire. Just
kill it with fire.
Yeah,
burn
and
it.
It worked. So
So you kill it and you get the atrium back on. So you have to go to 3 different areas. You have to go down to mining, water supply, and there's another one, and I can't remember what the other one is. And essentially, you're going through these little corridor areas to reroute power, with the third place being an encounter with another brute, just kind of plowing its way through. You have to, so once you go through all these areas, you reroute the power. You have to go outside and manually line the ADS cannons. From what I've heard in the original game, this sucked. Like, it was hard to maneuver the cannons to adjust them properly.
Yeah, it's very vague, in my opinion, the direction of like what you're supposed to do as a player in this area. It took me a long time to be able to figure this out. I died. This is probably the moment in the game I died more than any other moment. And I wasn't exactly sure what I was supposed to do. But you're in 0G, you're trying to fly around, you're getting attacked constantly, and you have to manually aim these cannons. But your aim basically becomes the cannon's aim when you're trying to do this, and it's not incredibly clear.
Yeah, you have to like manually start your connection to the ADS cannon, manually aim them, shoot like 3 asteroids, and then it'll recalibrate itself, and then you move on to the next one. You have to do this 3 separate times.
Yep.
Yeah, if you don't know what you're doing, this can be a little frustrating. From what I've heard, this one is a lot easier than the previous one in 2008. I guess they improved it.
Yeah, the 0G, like the controls are very fluid. It feels good. And then like in the original game, like I personally, the first time I played through it, I had to crank the sensitivity up because even with the sensitivity cranked, you still turn very slowly. And so it was just like the ultimate of like those tanky kind of blocking controls that just you're really being limited, and that kind of adds to that classic aspect of the survival horror, like Resident Evil and Silent Hill and all that, but it just feels a lot better in the remake.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good improvement for like quality of life, in my opinion.
So you recalibrate the cannons, and you get another message, and Hammond is telling you, or not Hammond, but Daniels is telling you that there is a weird message from a Nicole in Medbay and a signal. So it's like this, you can tell when you watch the video that the message has been like chopped up and made. Like, there are certain areas that cut in and out, but essentially she's saying to go down to mining because there's a safe place in mining. And but the video is being played in medbay, so you're like, oh no, Nicole, I must go find Nicole. So you run to medbay, and that will start chapter 5, Lethal Devotion. And that'll be the start of the next episode. So one thing that we didn't talk about I think it's in the third chapter, second or third chapter, but you get attacked by this big fleshy arm that drags you through the corridor. It's kind of a part of the tumor. You'll revisit this a couple times later, and it will become a boss fight. And that'll be actually, I think, in the next episode. We'll talk about that one. Uh,
That's another one of the things that comes down to the design and sort of the redesign for the remake. Is I never, maybe my brain just blocked it out because it was so fucking traumatic, but in the remake I actually took my time with this section, and it happens very quick. But if you look, you actually see that at the end of this tentacled arm thing, it's actually an, I don't know, amalgamation of human arms and hands reaching out for you. And if you really look at it, it's absolutely terrifying. Like,
yeah.
whatever this big thing is has appropriated limbs into whatever it needs it for. So obviously this is an arm of a big thing, but it has all the arms that's like composing the grounding part of it. So I thought that was a fun little detail.
Yes. It is absolutely disgusting, and you have to shoot this little orange orb to blow the arm off. Otherwise, it will drag you into this hole and kill you.
Which the death sequences are fantastic. I mean, playing the game, you'll die a lot, but it's still kind of fun.
Yeah. So, dear listeners, this was our first episode. As I said before, the next episode will pick up in chapters 5 through 8. Yes, 5 through 8. So just a little bit about what we're trying to do here. Each season, we will cover either a video game, a movie, a TV show, an anime of sorts. We'll go through it, talk about it. We'll bust it down so many episodes, or so many like episodes or chapters, an episode, and we'll cover them all and then have a final episode that will kind of talk about our overarching experiences with it. Each season will probably contain anywhere around 4 to 6 episodes, depending on how long the game is that we're talking about. If there, how much content we have to talk about said thing,
or how obsessed we are with it.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is a project I've been very excited to start. It's something I've been wanting to start for a while now, and has had a few evolutions getting to this point. But yeah, things to look out for in the future. I have a Patreon started. I am still trying to figure out what to put on the Patreon, but there will be ways, if you like what we're doing and want to support us, there will be ways in the future to support us so we can keep doing the thing. Because I like doing this.
I like doing this.
Yeah, we both like doing this, and we hope that you like listening to us do this, and that you will like listening to us do this so much that you will want to support us in little ways.
This has been a big dream of mine for a long time, and I love Brandon, and I love that he reached out to me for co-hosting this, and I've wanted this kind of platform for a long time, so I really love being here, and I'd like to be able to keep doing this.
Yeah, and if you're someone who knows me, you know that I obsess over media constantly, movies, video games. I can't help but to dissect them, talk about them, explore the contents in which they talk about. So this has been a long-standing project that I've been wanting to put forward to give me like a platform to be able to do these things and not annoy every literal goddamn person around me with it. So yeah, this is the Nerd Archivist, and we will be back. I'm hoping in 2 weeks we will have the next episode out. That'll give you time to play through the next 4 chapters. and be ready for us when we start this over again.
This has been your host, Dakota.
And Brandon.
And we are signing off. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.